Hello, everyone. It's me, Allison. The show is about to start, but just real fast, a quick reminder. I want to tell you guys, if you are doing some shopping, perhaps some Black Friday shopping, holiday shopping, etc.
Like Christmas type shopping?
Christmas type, any sort of shopping at all. I have put together some lists on Amazon.
Lists with things
stuff
on them?
Daniel, just pipe down for 1 second. Beauty stuff, makeup stuff, home stuff, kids stuff, podcast equipment, books I recommend, all of this stuff. And
Daniel's stuff?
Oh, yeah, Daniel's Corner, where I put stuff that I know that he likes. But Daniel has recently gotten way more involved, and he put together a special Christmas spectacular gift guide for you.
You guys will not even believe it. I mean, I'm not going to tell you what's on there, but it's literally some things.
Lots of things. And a whole big caption explaining his process.
If you know someone who's exactly like me, they are going to love it.
And here's where you go to see all of this. Amazon.com/shop/Allison Rosen. Amazon.com/shop/Allison Rosen.
And we'll be adding to it.
It's nonstop, you guys.
Yeah.
Okay, here's the show.
Bye.
You guys, I lied. I said the show was starting right now, but I have one more quick announcement. I'm co-hosting a new podcast. It's brand new. It's called Upworthy Weekly. I'm co-hosting it with a guy named Todd Perry, who I'm having so much fun with, although he is wrong about so many things, especially Christmas music, but also other stuff. But anyway, Upworthy Weekly, we come out on Saturdays. Please give it a listen, subscribe. If you like what you're hearing, leave us a comment, a review on Apple Podcasts. That helps out the show so much, especially because we are brand new. As I've said, between 1 and 4 times right now, I've lost track. But anyway, please give it a listen. It's a lighthearted news podcast. We're taking a look at the most popular and engaging stories from the week before that ran on Upworthy. And it's just what your holidays need. And then when we're past the holidays, it's just what that part of the year needs. It's just exactly what you need. Please listen to it. Upworthy Weekly, new episodes every Saturday, wherever you get your podcasts.
Allison Rosen is your new best friend. Allison, with her the good times never end. Allison Rosen, doing the wavy pencil dance again. Allison Rosen. Allison's your new best friend.
Hey everyone. Hi. Hello. Welcome to another episode of Allison Rosen is your new best friend. I'm very excited to bring on our guests in a moment. But first, I must chat with producer, self-professed bad boy of podcasting, Tony Thaxton. Hello. How's it going?
It's going all right. How you doing, Allison?
I'm good. I wanted to give you an update and the listeners an update for anyone who's invested in the story of Daniel, my husband, and his hair journey and the hairbrush that is slowly encroaching to my side. I feel like I just need to catch everyone up. I only knew Daniel as someone who had very short, I assumed straight hair. I never really thought about the texture of his hair. I don't have feelings about it. I don't care. But lo and behold, he had been hiding the fact from me that he has very curly hair. I have naturally curly hair. Our children have curly hair. And in the pandemic, he's decided to grow out his hair. He's having a hair journey. This has involved like research, products, hair tools, things like that. I am in favor of it. I like it. I say, let it out. Let's see what lies beneath the follicles. However, there's a hairbrush of his, which, as I explained on the Thursday show with Arden Marine and Rob Cohen and Jeff and Tony, and Daniel was not able to make that show, which is why I was able to tell everyone what's going on.
That's never stopped you before, him not being there.
I know, but I had more free reign without him there to insert himself.
Okay.
I have annexed about like 5/8 of the bathroom counter. And now he has all sorts of crap on his side of the bathroom because of all the hair products and all this whole hair journey. So anyway, he has this hairbrush that I keep putting back on his side, and then I come back later and then it is on my side. And I don't know what's going on. I don't know if he is forgetting that it's his and he thinks it's mine or whatever. So then Rob Cohen, a mischievous kind of guy, recommended that I just start taking pictures of it and documenting it. So I was very excited about this. After the show, for I would say like 2 days, it didn't move. But here's the update that I'm excited to share with you, Tony, and with people who are invested. I now have photos of it making its slow journey. And I guess journey is the word of the day for me today. It's beginning to head back on my side now. It is now definitely on my, it's like not all the way on my side, but it's definitely a little more on my side than it is on his side. So some options are I can just present him with like a month of photo evidence. I could hide the brush. I can move it back to 1 all the way to his side. I don't know. But that's what's going on. This could be just,
what do you think the possibility of this being a game on his end is?
I wondered, is this a psyop on his part too? Like 2 can play that game. I think it's quite possible.
Yeah, I think it's likely.
Tony,
especially if you see a slow move there, I think he's doing it on purpose.
But could he keep this up? Can I keep this up? It's only so long that I can keep this up until he becomes aware of it, given that he's like a part of the show too. But for now, I mean, he proudly no longer listens. So for now, we're good. Tony, did you watch Sex and the City, the original?
No, I've seen bits and pieces, but I've never really watched it. No,
I can't remember the plot at all. I just remember Carrie was talking about like curly haired women versus straight haired women, and she said something like, "This is gonna make everyone cringe." It makes me cringe thinking about it. But she was like, "They're crazy," and then she was like, "I'm Carrie," and I was thinking he's the Daniel right now with his hair. For anyone who gets that reference, they smirked. That's about it. Enough of this. I'm very excited to bring in our guests. They are world famous. They are the hosts of a very, very popular podcast called Guys We Effed. And I'll have to find out from them. Is it like, should we be calling it Guys We Fucked, or do they call it Guys? There, I'm seeing a nod. It's Guys We Fucked. Sometimes it is.
Yeah, we didn't know what the rules were for you.
Oh, yeah. No, we use all the words. And then they also have a special that they just put up on Monday called Our Special Day. It is very funny. You can get it on YouTube. It starts with some audience interaction, and then they each do stand up, and then it ends with like a very hilarious reenactment. And I have some questions about how all that worked. They also have their own separate podcast. They do all sorts of things. They're also developing a comedy sitcom based on their podcast. Please put your hands together for Corinne Fisher and Krystyna Hutchinson.
Hello.
Hi.
Thanks for having us.
So
what an intro. Thank you.
Nice to have you guys on. Okay, so it's Guys We Fucked.
Guys we fucked. Guys we hugged when we're doing radio.
Yeah. But from the beginning, did it start with all the asterisks in the middle?
No. And then we were rejected when we tried to put the podcast on iTunes. So we put the asterisks, and then we still got rejected, and then had to do like a whole social media campaign for that. But the asterisking out the fucked is just the safest bet in terms of advertising and marquees.
Got it. Okay. So just because I can imagine people saying, wait, how do I know? I mean, most people are probably familiar with their podcast. You guys are like at the top of the charts always. But for people who might not know, who are like, how do I tell who's who? Can you give us some pointers?
I'm the gullible one.
And you're Christina
talking. Yeah, I do weird voices. I talk in weird voices all the goddamn time. I'm confused. Well, no longer newly unconfused as to who I am. And my self-esteem is something new to my life. Whereas it's not the case with Corinne.
Okay, I will have a thousand follow-up questions about
good cop, bad cop. Yeah, that's the easiest way. It's like glass half empty, glass half full. Those are the differences. I'm the bad cop, if anyone couldn't tell.
Christina, you recently discovered yourself, and now you have self-esteem. That's very intriguing. Please fill us in on who you were before and how this happened.
So I grew up in a household that was pretty tumultuous, but I didn't understand that. I thought that I put my parents on a pedestal when in fact they did not give me what I needed this whole time. So I just put those pieces together recently, and with doing that, got rid of I broke up with a boyfriend of 7 years. That was a act towards running towards my own self-esteem. And I ended relationships in my life that were uneven in terms of the respect level. And so finally I'm at this place where I treat myself with respect, but it was a lot of unpacking.
Yeah. Was that in therapy? I'm a big fan of therapy. And also your story about your upbringing sounds very familiar to mine.
Yes, I'm huge into therapy. When I first discovered the term childhood trauma, I was like, wait, what is this? And then I related to it so much and I was able to articulate things that I could not articulate because I didn't have the tools. So once I discovered childhood trauma and what that meant, specifically there's this book called The Body Keeps the Score.
Oh yeah, that's been
really
recommended
helped.
to me.
Oh my God. It's a scientific breakdown of how trauma lives in your body. So that took away the frustration that I had with myself, with my progress, and why am I doing these things? These behaviors are not who I am. Where are they coming from? So the discovering childhood trauma gave me the answers that I was desperately craving. Got
it. So Corinne, how was it for you watching this transformation of Christina?
I mean, it's basically my whole life is watching people go through similar transformations.
What if you're the common denominator?
My life is a little bit. What?
I said, what if you're the common denominator? They meet you and then they transform.
It's possible. I hope not. I mean, I'm very happy for Christina, but if this is the pattern for everyone in my life, I might kill myself. Just kidding. It's just
is exhausting.
I feel like my life is like waiting at a bus, it's like me sitting at a bus stop. And so I don't know. It's hard. Like I didn't realize that everyone had a difficult childhood. And now I know like most people had a difficult childhood. And I only learned that like similar to Christina having these realizations a couple years ago. I only learned this about my own life a couple years ago. But as I always say, don't worry, my adulthood is not going great. So everyone catches up at some point with the trauma.
What do you mean by your life is like waiting at a bus stop?
Because I feel like, as far as like things that a lot of adults have to go through, like learning to love themselves, learning to accept themselves, I always had those things. And so, and I know people will come to these realizations in their own time, but there's nothing it's like the Wizard of Oz. I can't do that work for other people, even though I wish I could. I wish I could just be like, here's confidence. And I've tried it, and people have asked things like, can you teach me how to be confident? But you can't teach someone how to be confident. You really can't. And that's why I kind of think a lot of, life coaching and stuff like that is a bit of bullshit, because they can help you a little bit. They can, introduce you to tools, but really you have to come to these realizations and acceptance on your own. And a lot of the stuff that's going on now, as far as like self-help, some of it feels like it's pushing self-love or like demanding that you love yourself because you have to love yourself.
Yeah.
And there was a similar plot like that. I don't know if you watched Euphoria, where Kat was kind of sitting there and she is just like, but what if I don't love myself? And I think it's so much easier if people hear other people say, I don't love myself, and here is me working towards that, rather than like, you have to love yourself and that's the only choice, because then that just makes you feel more left out.
Yes. It becomes a way of shaming yourself for not already being there. Yes, I do think maybe it's like the memification of anything, but so that like toxic positivity, toxic wellness, all of that stuff. And also lately something that's been bothering me, and I'm curious what you guys think. Are you on TikTok?
Yes.
Okay, so I kind of recently came to my listeners have heard me talk about this before. For the longest time, I was like, I don't have any interest in that because I find Instagram Reels really annoying. So why would I want to look at an app that's only Reels? And then I don't know what happened. I had a dark night of the soul, and it led me to TikTok. And I was like, oh my God, everything I've been hearing about it is true. Like it is addictive. It makes it, and it's really like a positive, creative place. I think because for me, Instagram is just other people bragging about all the great things happening in their life, and it makes me feel bad about myself, versus TikTok is a bunch of people I don't know. But so I have spent just so many hours of the pandemic looking at TikTok. But I see a lot of stuff about like, here's what boundaries look like. And then it's just a woman slapping her hand at the camera, and it's like, I said no, cunt, fuck you. I mean, I'm exaggerating. They're not. That's what I hear. That's what I hear. That's what healthy boundaries sound like to me. Like, if I want your advice, I'll ask for it. And like, I did not give you permission to comment on my body, and I don't know. They sound so harsh, and I understand with certain people you do have to create a boundary that's very firm. With a lot of people, I feel like they do have a little more emotional sensitivity than that.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the suggestions that they have on TikTok for boundaries, you would be known as the rudest person alive. Yes. And this is coming from someone who's pretty abrasive. And even I wouldn't phrase things like some of these suggestions. It's not conducive to real life.
Right.
Yeah, and I think what's happening, TikTok also contributes to the sensory overload that we're experiencing. We can educate ourselves on any ailments, how to cure ourselves from something, how to have a boundary, something like psychology related, like having a boundary, how to make a salad, how to be a wife, how to be a fuck, and it's too much. I feel like we get so swept up in these apps that we're like, oh, we have to live our lives and like go outside.
Yeah,
it's so hard to forget to remember that.
Yeah. And then there's this phenomenon, which I've now seen it in two different places, probably both on social media, I think it's called like noise bottlenecking or something, which is where you spend all this time online, and because you're like reading and going to different places, you think that you're being informed, but 90% of it is just noise. So you think that you're like enriching yourself, but it's just a bunch of bullshit. So that's cool.
Cheers.
I mean, that's true. Yeah, I think we have to also be careful, because just because someone writes something down or shares it in a video that is well edited does not make it true. We have listeners for Guys We Fucked who send me things all the time, videos about like some wellness expert talking about something. And I have another show that's about bias in news. So I'm really big on always fact checking everything as much as you can. Obviously, things are going to slip through the cracks. I'm not going to do a full hour of research before I share any little piece of info. But a lot of times it's really easy to go and find out that a lot of this information is incorrect.
Yes.
And I'll just like link the article back to them. Like, I hope you're not just trusting anything you come across on TikTok, because that's wild.
Right. So, Guys We Fucked, if I understand correctly, it started, Corinne, when you broke up with someone.
I was dumped.
You were dumped. Okay.
Yes.
I mean, that's a technicality, but
that's
an important one.
It's fine. It's okay.
You were dumped, and then you wanted to interview previous boyfriends to sort of put the pieces together to figure out what had happened. Is that right?
Yeah, kind of just, I wanted to do like a social experiment to figure out how to be a better partner. Because I think of everything like in a student way. Like to me, there has to be some kind of logical, scientific way to improve any behavior that you have. And I think there's like partial truth in that now. But I mean, it also takes emotional change and emotional development as well.
Right.
And just fate, I guess.
You know, it's funny you say that, because the fate part, because I had the worst dating history ever. I always went for just the complete wrong guys, and then I would become obsessed.
Yeah.
Obsessed. I don't know if it's too strong or not. I actually feel like it's fairly accurate. I just mean like the most emotionally invested, and my whole self-worth was tied up with them. And then I did all this work on myself, and now I am happily married, and I don't know. Like, I feel like I couldn't have gotten to that place without all the work, but at the same time, maybe it was just luck. I guess not fate, but luck. Like, I don't know how much I don't know.
I think that if your dating history was the way you said, it makes a lot of sense that when you said earlier that you relate to the remnants of my upbringing and childhood trauma, that aspect of it. Because if you're not shown a healthy version of love, what are you to do when you go out into the real world? Of course, you're going to run after the thing that's not healthy and not realize that it's not healthy. Or at the same time go, why am I doing this? I'm not an idiot. What the fuck is happening here? And then you decode it through your own history. So it's really, I feel like Corinne and I, because we've been doing the podcast for 8 years, we are part of it, it's taken so many arcs in ways that we could not have predicted, which I really, really enjoy about the show. And one of them is us decoding modern romance and sexuality, and how society has fucked us up, how pop culture has sold us so many lies that we just kind of take as this is how it should go, and then comparing ourselves when it doesn't go the fairy tale route, when in fact, you know, everything on the movies, that's toxic. That's not healthy love. I actually had a second date with somebody today. And we were talking about how pop culture fucked us up, and we both are newly realizing this concept, and partly because of the conversations I have with Corinne on it. Like, when you have butterflies in your stomach, that's anxiety. That's not indicative of a healthy attachment. And so I was telling him these things in the car before he dropped me off, and we were both like, yeah, let's like go slow. I'm like, yeah, I've never done that before. You want to try it? He's like, yeah, okay. I'm like, all right, well, see you later, but not too soon. So that's like a toxic dynamic. But I'll see you in like a week or whatever's healthy for us to get our work done and, you know, not be too obsessed with each other. So it's interesting. It's interesting to decode all the bullshit that has been stowed upon us.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's this expectation of being swept off your feet and falling in love right away. And I don't know. I know that I was always very vulnerable and receptive to like an intense seduction, like the kind that comes from someone who's in another relationship. The way they don't, it's not, there's no stakes for them. So they can really shower you with attention. And yet I think that attention, like part of you knows it's not real, which is why it's not
intoxicating.
It's so intoxicating. So, you know, yeah, but like in reality, it does go slower. Okay. So Corinne, you wanted to do a social experiment. Christina, how did you get involved at the beginning?
Corinne and I had been comedy partners for a couple of years at this point. So she had pitched me this idea. We were working on a number of projects. This was one of them that she had pitched, and she was like, let's like put attention onto this. I can't get this idea out of my head. I think it's really good. So we got together, and I added the anti-slut-shaming tagline to it, because I had been slut-shamed my whole middle school, high school career. Not so severely, like not in a bullying way, but like, you know, with teachers commenting on what I'm wearing, or with men like being grossed out that you're not a virgin. And it's like, you guys, you're all hypocrites. You want, if a woman is takes her sexuality and honors it, everyone's happy. It works for everyone. Trickle down economics is not a thing, but if women can get right with their own sexuality and their self-esteem, we could achieve world peace. I truly believe that. So yeah, there was all of these hypocritical parts to the way women were treated in media and in real life that I'm like, fuck this. Let's please add an element of just calling that out.
And so we're at the beginning, when it was about interviewing previous relationships, were the guys mostly pretty receptive about coming on?
Yeah, honestly, yeah, surprisingly so. I found that it was the really serious boyfriends that I had the most difficulty getting on. The few really serious boyfriends who weren't in the entertainment business. Because, I mean, in their defense, there's no, unless they just really wanted to have a heart-to-heart, there's really nothing in it for them, I suppose. Right. I mean, I find it very helpful, but, you know, that's also why I'm in the entertainment business, because I don't have problems having vulnerable conversations in public. I actually hate doing the podcast live with anyone who I want to be vulnerable with. But as far as like in a studio setting, or when we used to do it in Christina's living room, like to me, it was easier to have the conversation with Christina there than if I was to have the conversation with one of those partners, like in a cafe. To me, that is like an absolute nightmare. But that's my own communication issues.
And so what did you learn about yourself or about people?
I mean, I think we just learned that most of the times the relationship doesn't work out because you are with someone who is not the match for you. And I think like it's upsetting, but really, really, really liking someone does not a relationship make.
Yeah.
You know, and that's for me the bad news. Like there's a couple people that I really, really like, but as far as on a day-to-day, can I function with them in a partnership? No, like absolutely not. And it makes sense when I think of my my two best friends, I could not live with either of them. I couldn't see them every day. Like, it wouldn't be good. Whereas Christina is one of my really, really, really good friends, and I spend more time with her than anybody else. And it's no problem.
Yeah. Yeah, it's sexuality is so interesting. I think we you know, it's like our default mode is monogamous. Well, why? Like, I one thing that I've really learned from doing the show is like I kind of want to challenge these parts, both for me personally, and for the world. I think it's worth challenging because, you know, especially nowadays, women have been really pushed and encouraged to, what are your career goals? Like, you know, go after your dreams, like make a plan. And we don't put that time, that same consideration, that same thoughtful consideration into relationships. Like, what do we want out of them? Like, what does a healthy relationship look like for us? And having those conversations are vital. Because I think love is like the best thing in the world. And it's my favorite thing in the world. But when it's not healthy, even though it feels so goddamn good, it's going to drain you and leave you at the bottom of the swamp.
Yes, totally. Corinne, in our special day, which again, everyone go check it out, it's available on YouTube. You talk about being in an open, well, no, you were dating a guy who was in an open marriage.
Yeah, a couple years ago. Yeah.
What was that like?
It was something like it was interesting because it's something that was okay for a small period of time. And I was open with him from the beginning. I was like, listen, I'm not going to be like the third wheel forever. But at that time in my life, I had just gotten out of a really serious relationship that I ended, but I ended because the other person wasn't putting in enough work and I didn't want to end it. So I think when you don't want to end a relationship, you're kind of like still in partner mode. And I knew that this person would be a good partner and comforting and was enthusiastic about being my partner, but that I didn't have to worry about getting into something long term because he already had a wife. And not that my end goal in any way is to be a wife. I kind of don't think I want to get married at all. And no one's asked. But I actually just don't think I want to be married. And so it was a nice way to explore someone who had made a commitment to someone. So, you know, they don't have a fear of commitment, and get attention, but not too much. It was actually like a good amount of attention for me because I find being the primary partner really suffocating. But I would also never want to get married to someone and have them have a girlfriend. So I don't know. I'm really big into, I'm comfortable with myself and I'm not worried about getting hurt really anymore. So I find it interesting to explore relationships in different ways, even if they're not something that I would do long term.
Right.
But it was good. It was weird. It was definitely like interesting setting boundaries with the wife. And I got to say, it was one of the most positive experiences I've ever had with another woman. Usually don't think of like sharing a male sexual partner with another woman as a positive experience,
right? Because
of the way culture has like brought us up as heterosexual women. But I admire this woman greatly. And I think that like open marriage really does work for them, obviously. And was so apparent in the way that she conducted herself. And like, I just have like endless respect for her.
Was she also dating people?
No, but that was her choice. She had no interest in it.
Huh. So then
I think what happened is like she married a husband who truly, there's very few people who I feel are actually polyamorous, and the polyamorous community gets pissed off when I say that. But I think a lot of people try open relationships and stuff, and it's like, it's just people who can't be monogamous for whatever reason. But polyamory is something very specific. It's the ability to love multiple people at once. And I think very few people have that quality in the way that we're talking about when we're talking about polyamory. This man actually did, though. He truly had enough love for me and his wife. And I would tell my therapist, I was like, he was one of the best partners I've ever had. And he was literally married and he was doing a good job in his marriage. And so some people are just built with a lot of love in their hearts. You know, I'm not one of them, but God bless this guy.
Yeah. I don't think I am either. Christina, what about you?
Yeah.
I got a lot of love in my heart. but I think monogamy, not strict monogamy, is for me. But when you enter a relationship with somebody, you can make your own rules. It's whatever works for you and your partner. Every pairing of two people is completely different. I'm going to be different with my ex-boyfriend than I am with this other guy, and so it's a matter of finding what works for you. And the last serious relationship I was in, we ebbed and flowed and were monogamish. And it really worked. And it was just cool. It was cool to be in a relationship where it's like, we can talk about the possibilities without being scared. These ideas don't scare us. They're just conversation. And if it's something makes you jealous, well, yeah, people get jealous all the time. It's okay. It's what you do with that. It's not, I got jealous. Well, if you're a child of trauma and you haven't addressed that and you get triggered, yeah, that's going to be a problem for you. But if you are even in an open relationship or a closed relationship and you get jealous, that's something that you can deal with. So this attitude of like, it's not the end of the world has been very helpful.
So so I'm curious about the various incarnations of the podcast, but also I'm wondering like, how did the media domination happen? How did you, you started the podcast and then do you like, was there a certain thing that for you guys like pushed you, how did all the exposure happen? Yeah.
We have had multiple waves with guys we fucked, like surpluses of eyes on us, of new listeners. The first one was Corinne's friend, who's a journalist, writes for the Daily Beast. Mm-hmm. So the first ever, he requested an exclusive for the podcast, and Corinne was like, sure. Because we were both like, I mean, it's a good idea.
I laughed.
I don't think people are going to listen to this. So the headline of the article, because we got denied off iTunes, was "The Podcast Too Hot for iTunes."
Oh.
And the timing of it all was really good. Corinne and I's chemistry is fucking magic. And it always has been. And so we get to like dance and play while we're on the podcast in that dynamic, which is lovely. Plus, we both have a no bullshit approach to let's talk about these really uncomfortable things. And let's up the ante even further by having that conversation with the ex that sometimes you would go to the grave without ever having this type of conversation. So it was really fun. It was this really cool social experiment. And then that was the first wave. And then I remember we got our first like big famous guest was Amber Rose. Mm-hmm. And we got her on. Corinne emailed her lawyer. So this was all like us, reaching out to people, DMing people, like begging people. And she was like,
a little backstory, just so people are like, don't know why. Like, I have a lot of tricks up my sleeve because I had come from the world of talent management. So I always wanted to be the star myself. So I basically worked in talent management for 5 years, used my brain as a sponge to stop up all this stuff, and then used it for me and Christina. Good tactic if you have
it's smart
to spend.
So smart. And it's helped us a lot. And one of the things was, we wind up at Amber Rose's house setting up our gear as she's like coming down from her home gym looking perfect. And we have like a really fucking good conversation. Really interesting conversation. It was really cool. It's kind of like this high to like talk to this person with this persona, but it's like, cut through that. Like, they don't give a shit about that, and I don't give a shit about that. So like, what is the meat? Who are you? What's your, the heart? And then that interview.
I'm so sorry. I feel so stupid. I know the name Amber Rose, and I feel like I have. What is she famous for?
So she dated. Unfortunately, she does other things, but one of the first things was she dated Kanye West.
Oh, okay.
So, but she does other shit, and she's a cool chick.
And she also, she did not create it. She's sometimes, credited with creating it, but she didn't. But the slut walk, she made really famous. And so the reason why it was cool and important that she was on our show is because certainly at the time, and maybe even still, she was the most famous anti-slut-shaming advocate.
Right.
Yeah, she really pushed for that. And she had her own experience getting dragged to the media. That interview, through the grace of the PR gods, I don't know. We ended up airing it the same time that, God, I'm getting deja vu, that Kanye West was openly freaking out on the internet about how he doesn't like a finger up his butt. But in that interview, Amber specifically, we weren't fishing for this, but we ended up talking about how Kanye had a finger up his ass or something with that. It coincided, and it was People Magazine picked it up, Us Weekly, E! News, all these places. So
the famous tweet was "finger in the booty ass bitch." Yeah. And it has just resurfaced because of all the stuff that's going on with Kanye, which is, part mental health, part harassment of Kim. So that's a whole other story, but
yeah. So that was a wave. And so we've experienced these waves pretty consistently throughout since the creation.
Is there a comma in finger in the booty ass bitch? Or is she the one who is putting her finger in the booty ass?
I think she was calling Kanye. It would almost be hyphenated is how I would do it.
Yeah.
Like finger in the booty ass bitch. Like it's a
it's a command.
That's a bitch that likes her finger in the booty ass.
Yeah.
You know?
So yeah, that's what
Got it.
Amber said to Kanye.
Got it. Thank you. I needed to punctuate that.
No problem.
Oh, that's so cool. Okay, so at the beginning, social experiment. Then you started interviewing more notable people, right? And I know you've had a lot of people on. And then, were you always taking questions?
We started reading SoundCloud comments because some of them were mean, and I thought it was funny, and so we would just read them. And then people started asking us questions, and then we're like, well, I guess we had an email for our comedy duo, so that's why we were like, sorry about last night show at gmail.com if you have any questions. And that was the floodgates have never closed since then. And we have uncovered the psychology of people's sexuality and like the culture and how we're all doing as sexual people, I think can be found in our inbox.
All right, then I'm going to ask you my own personal sexual question. 2 young children, very little libido right now. Has that come up in your inbox a lot?
Oh, all the time. Not wanting to have sex with a partner is I would say one of the most, for whatever reason it is, a lot of times it's mental health issues. A lot of times it's depression related. But that is one of the most common things we get in our email inbox. That's just because of the age though. So, but I mean, postpartum is definitely, or whatever the reason is.
Or you're busy.
Postpartum or just raising children, you know?
Right.
But it's common. Yeah.
Yeah. My therapist said that I forget what she said. It wasn't as explicit as like, oh yes, the exact thing you're saying is, I think what she was saying is something that like hormonally it makes sense, and kind of just intellectually it makes sense too, that it's like,
yeah,
after you pop out 2 little ones, you're focused on other stuff.
Yeah, I can imagine. I can't imagine. And also this note, I've been thinking about this a lot lately. If I had a child, if a man impregnated me and I had that baby and I baked that baby and then I gave birth to that baby, that man better not look at me funny like that. I'm like, do you understand what I just did? Like that is huge. You're using your body to feed humans, to bake humans, to birth humans, to feed humans. And I can't imagine, of course, like anytime I've heard a story of like the husband after the wife has kids, why don't you want to fuck? Why don't I want to? Did you see what happened? Are you what? So that I would have some things to say.
Yes. Okay, good. And then my other question. So, Christina, you made a crack in your stand-up on our special day about this is not the whole bit at all, but just offhand, like about being afraid of anal. And then I think on your Instagram, I saw like a book about how to be good at anal. And I famously, I think this information heads into a room before I do. Famously, never done anal. I am afraid of it. It's an ongoing joke on the show. But anyway, so where are you with anal now?
Oh, my anal journey has, it has blossomed into.
Are you a booty ass bitch?
I, you know what? I like sticking something up a guy's butt with their consent. Because I don't have a prostate to stimulate where I can have an orgasm if you go up my butthole. Men do. So this obsession with a woman's butthole, I have come to realize, is just forbidden territory related. That's what it is. That's the draw. Because over the summer, I found out that from my manager, actually, I was on vacation with his family and we're very close. And it was a bunch of us talking and I was talking to a bunch of dudes and they're like, yeah, and they were drinking and they were like, yeah, with anal, once you get in the opening, it's empty space up there. And I was like, excuse me? And they're like, yeah. And I was asking other guys in the group, I'm like, whoa. When you go up the butt, like it's empty space once you get in. And they're like, yeah, the vagina's way tighter. I'm like, then I'm not going through that. What? I've been sacrificing my butthole for empty space once you get in there? I'm not doing that.
Interesting. There's so much to talk about here. So you have been sacrificing your butthole then?
I have. I actually went to the ER for anal because I.
Oh my God. Sorry.
Yeah, because I couldn't stop bleeding, but I wasn't eating enough fiber. So you learn the hard way, right? But I was.
This
I was
is
basically
my nightmare.
doing
this
that
is
to please
Just
my
don't.
partner.
You're married. Don't do it. What? There's no need to do it. It's not. You're not going to be like, this feels amazing.
It's funny because, and I'm not getting any pressure to do it or anything. It's
okay.
just, it's self-imposed. It's self-imposed because I remember I was on a podcast many years ago and I said I had never done anal. And then, it was Esther Pavitsky, actually, for anyone who knows. She's like, what? Weren't you ever in high school? And I was like, well, I was a gigantic dork. So I was every kind of virgin in high school still. But yeah, it's just this sense of like, it's a rite of passage that I'm missing out on. I feel like
it doesn't make you a better sexual partner.
I'm laughing so hard that you want to do that you think you need to do anal because Esther Pavitsky told you so. She's a good friend of mine, and this is really tickling me in a way that you have no idea. I mean, Esther also, she notorious. I just saw her a couple weeks ago, and I heard that she used to flash her tits to people, and I said, Esther, is this true? And she literally lifted up her shirt and showed me her tits. So I was like, this is, she has that performer, that comedian blood in her. You can't trust anything we say. Yeah. I mean, listen, I've had anal a long time ago, and when I had in college, and then maybe in my 20s a couple times, but there's absolutely no need to do it. I don't think it was not always super painful, but you definitely need a glass of wine to take the sting off. And there's just no, unless you're someone who gets really stimulated via your anus, which you would know, you can tell with a finger, you don't need to stick a penis
you don't
in there,
need a dick
then
in there.
there's no need to do this.
And also, if you're a people pleaser, I don't know if you are, Allison.
yeah.
Then of course you're going to get down on yourself for not doing anal, because that's to me, that's reminds me of my people pleasiest days with a partner where I'm whipping out anal way early on because I'm see, I'm the best, right? You love me, right? And it's nah, you don't need that.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know what it is. I guess I just feel am I really going to go to my grave missing out on one of these experiences but yeah, I might.
You're not missing out on much.
Okay. Hello, taking the sting out, going to the ER. No, thank you.
It's not fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you tried anal toys like a butt plug or anal beads?
Those
No.
are fun. Those feel
haven't.
great.
All right, I'll try
that
that.
gives you pleasure. So you're going to want to find something that works for both of you guys.
Right. I think I could get into that. Tony,
Try it. And if you don't like
And
it,
I would go there before I did penis in the butt anyway, because you need to loosen up that area.
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. All right. I feel good about everything we've figured out here. Okay. So at one point your show you're still on Luminary, but at one point you were exclusive. Fill me in on that.
Correct. Yeah. We just took we signed a contract a couple years ago it was a 2-year exclusive deal with Luminary, who at the time was a new company, and they were taking a couple podcasts to be exclusive. So it was a pretty cool opportunity because they only chose a few. And then they also created some exclusive content with Russell Brand and Lena Dunham and now Dave Chappelle. So we were one of the chosen podcasts, and we went behind a paywall for 2 years it was a good financial offer, but honestly, it was more for our mental health, because when you spend, 5-6 years sharing your deepest, darkest, most embarrassing secrets and, just your relationships day by day, play by play with people, some people start listening for the wrong reasons and other people start projecting on you. And it was just honestly, it was too much and not worth it anymore. We're what are we doing this for? And I thought for me personally, it came at a great time because I was mentally, I don't know if I can continue to do this show. If all these people are hate listening, I don't need to be famous this badly, like at all. Like I used to think I would do anything to be famous, and now I'll tell you, I would do very little to be famous. It's not worth it.
And Christina, was it similar for you?
Yeah, I didn't realize it at the time, but when we went behind the paywall, I was like, oh, this is way better. Because then, like, you know, as I'm getting these revelations about my parents, they can't just take their iPhone and listen to everything I'm saying about them. You know, we really started we made a couple promises to ourselves early on with Guys We Fucked, and one of them is just we're going to be very upfront and honest about what's happening in our lives with regards to sexuality and dating and love. And so with that, I didn't really expect to have so many realizations that were truly life-changing. I feel like I've had 8 dark nights of the soul since we've started Guys We Fucked, and so I'm a different person than when we started. And so yeah, growing up in front of people and learning from your own mistakes in front of people can be scarring when, as Corinne said, people are listening for the wrong reasons. And they'll let you know. They'll tweet at you. They'll be real quick to and then your social media becomes this place of like, just trigger. And you're like, ugh, I gotta hide for a little bit.
Yeah. I will say, so I used to be on the Adam Carolla show for 4 years, and when you're for me, like being in that stratosphere level of exposure, there was so much more negativity than and watching some of that peel off, even though it's like, oh, I'm reaching fewer people, but they're not making me feel terrible about myself.
Much more important.
Yeah.
People are so obsessed with how many followers, how many listens, how many blah, blah, blah. If you have an audience that wants to hear what you have to say and respects you, that's such a beautiful gift. And we've I know you can't choose your fans, but ours are fucking phenomenal. They really are.
When people were listening for the wrong reason or hate listening, what do you mean exactly?
My friends would text me and be like, "Why didn't you tell me this? Was this about me when it wasn't?" Or my mom would say, "I can't believe you said that." I'm like, and then before you know it, I'm like, "Oh, geez, I don't know how I'm going to get out of this situation." Enter Luminary.
Mm-hmm.
Well, also, I think from the public perspective, it's also, it was a real reflection on how society thinks about aging women, about unmarried women, about single women. So obviously, this is a show about dating. We go in and out of relationships. Sometimes we get dumped. Sometimes we break up. Sometimes we go through men quickly. Sometimes we're having a bad mental health day. And this is true of everybody, but everyone isn't broadcasting it. But because people don't want to deal with their own shit, we became the podcast version of, the Paris Hilton drunk driving or Lindsay Lohan going clubbing. And it was not okay when we did it to those women, and it's not okay to do it to us. So that's what was happening. It was just a low scale watching Britney shave her head, in 2007, which, we're only now in the past couple of years looking back on the way we treated those people and going, oh, that was pretty fucked up. It's it was fucked up the whole time, guys. It wasn't just fucked up because you got a self-help book and realized it now.
But were you guys kind of melting down in public, or do you just mean that sort of Schadenfreude hate watching?
It just got to be a lot.
We weren't doing anything that was not what every woman in her late 20s and 30s does in the privacy of her own house. We all saw Bridget Jones's Diary. Is it sad? Yeah, but have a lot of us done that? Also, yeah. Is it that if I was writing the script, is that how I would want to portray a woman? No, but is it realistic?
Yeah.
It can be,
and it's also so misogynist.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and just getting constant feedback on, a podcast is a one-way intimate relationship, and it got to the point where so many people were listening that we were just constantly bombarded with feedback of our choices that we did not want.
Yeah, I'm relating.
Because I think when you do an advice show, people think that is also a two-way street. Like Christina was saying, podcasting is not really a two-way street. But the difference is that people were asking us for our advice. And on the show, we will be very explicit. Sometimes Christina does ask listeners to write in to help her with things. I very explicitly tell people to not offer their advice to me. I go, I'm sharing my thought process with you, but do not offer me your advice. I am not asking for it. Like, I will say it that explicitly.
Yeah. So now that you're back wide release, how's it going?
Yeah.
Good. Honestly,
so
really
far.
good. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, who knows where it's going to go? But yeah, so far so good. I think since we've been back, there have been a lot of like similar podcasts to ours. I feel like this is a conversation that's being carried on. Like a lot of people are having this type of conversation. So it's not all like these are the two people that are talking about the. So it's the conversation is spread, which is great. So then it kind of gives us this opportunity to not be the only people having this type of conversation, but then we can really hone in on like what makes us special, like what's cool about Corinne and I, or what do we love about ourselves, or what do we want to lean into as parts of ourselves.
Right.
And I also think that, going behind the paywall for 2 years was in a way setting a boundary and saying, if you don't respect us, if you don't listen for the right reasons, we will go right behind that paywall again. We have no problem doing it. And you know how you know that? Because we just did it.
Yeah.
We just did it, and we'll do it again.
So you mentioned not asking people for advice, but I have some advice about something you should eat, which is delicious. This next ad comes to you. I'm the queen of segues from a company that's cooking the best omelets you'll have all year, all while changing the world one egg at a time. It's called Just Egg, and I'm excited to tell you about it. Just Egg is a cholesterol-free, plant-based egg that will give you the most decadent quiches of your life, the fluffiest scrambles, the easiest egg sandwiches of all time. It has about the same protein as a chicken egg, less saturated fat. Plus, Just Egg is packed with cholesterol-lowering polyunsaturated fat. Chicken eggs wish they were this healthy. So I have it in two forms. I have bottles of Just Egg, and then I have these frozen Just Egg. It's like what you put in an egg sandwich. If you were making that, you just pop it in the toaster, pop it in the microwave, and it's all so delicious. I was surprised when I took a bite because I was like, oh my God, I like this better than chicken eggs. It's a little bit more savory, a little bit more umami, which for the longest time I didn't believe was a real thing, but I've since been schooled, and now I'm on board with umami, and Just Egg has it. They're really delicious. Show off the new cholesterol-free you by buying a bottle of Just Egg today and doing the planet a solid all at the same time. Just Egg, really good eggs. Okay, and we are back. Let's see, I have so many things I want to talk to you guys about. Here's a question that's really more for off air, but I was listening, so we can just talk around it. Okay, so there's an episode in 2014 where a woman wrote in and she had just broken up with her boyfriend, or he had broken up, I can't remember. And she said that he was famous, and she sent in a picture of herself. And then you guys looked at the picture and you were like talking about, I think your reaction was like, okay, looking at the picture of him, woof. Like she was way out of his league. You know, and I know you're not going to disclose who it was because blah, blah, blah. But do you remember who it was? You do?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
Can you drop it into the chat? I won't read it. I just want to, or just tell me. Can you tell me off air? Because I'm dying.
Drop it into the chat.
It's uneventful, but yes. I'm
dying.
That was the whole funny thing. They were like, this person's so famous. And we looked and we're like, okay.
Oh, yes. Okay. I don't even. Yeah.
I mean, certainly well loved,
right? And has a following, but still,
on paper, yeah, I guess technically compared to your mom or your dad, yeah, sure,
right. That's okay. That's one of those things I feel like where there's almost this like I imagine halo effect because to a niche group of people that person's like a big deal probably. I guess.
Sure.
Okay.
It's interesting because at the time I will argue that that person is a very big deal, but you are correct. You have to be in the circle to know. But there are a lot of people who would like lose their mind to meet that person. And I've seen it in real life. And I didn't realize at the time because I wasn't as familiar with what that person did, but now I am.
Yes, I'm not really that familiar with that, but I just know that there is a whole scene around it.
And it's big.
It is big, very big.
Yes. So this comedy show being developed.
Special.
Yeah. No. Well, I was going to talk about the show.
The TV show, yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
What's the story with that?
Oh, it's a TV opportunity that we're really excited about that feels genuine to us. The thing with when Guys We Fucked first hit the scene and there was these waves, right? We had like the very first wave of the podcast Too Hot for iTunes. We got pretty bombarded, I guess you could say, with like TV opportunities, and it's been that way for 8 years. And I've since learned, Corinne has always said to me, because she comes from the manager side, she has this very vital perspective that I do not have. Getting a television show on the air is one of the hardest things you could do. And me, I'm like, what are you talking about? We're going to be at the Emmys, and oh my God, and you don't get it, and stop being negative, Corinne. You're just, no, she's absolutely fucking right. Because television is this fickle little industry where there can be too many cooks in the kitchen. So we have created so many different types of concepts, both scripted and unscripted, together that we love, that we're really proud of. And so and this is one of them. We're really excited. This is genuine to who we are. So yeah, it's in development. So we're just enjoying the ride.
So
you're just developing right now. I mean, we know what the show is, but it's like, it's so funny because, you know, we've been working on it for years and years before it was announced to the public. And now that it's announced, everyone thinks like, oh, it'll be on TV next week. And like, it'll still be like a year.
Yeah. And will you guys be on camera as well? Or yes. So so you guys will star in it.
Us.
Yeah. It's so
that's
funny.
so cool.
It's so interesting. One of the reactions that I was most like, oh, that's interesting, because if you look at a typical stand-up comedian, right? They get a sitcom, King of Queens, Full House. Bob Saget was rest in peace. God, I love that man. Was a stand-up comedian. That's like a pretty typical career trajectory for a stand-up comedian that gets big is, okay, what's your sitcom about? It's kind of like a very 90s career move for a stand-up comic. So one of the questions that surprised me the most was like, you guys aren't going to be in it, right? I'm like, yeah, we're going to be in it. I mean, yeah, 100% we're going to be in it.
I think the reason I asked is that at first I thought you were, and then I read it and it gave you guys writer credit with the third person. So something about it, the article made it unclear. But my first instinct was
because
that
it was
you
a
were.
development announcement.
Right.
Yeah. That's why it credited us like that, because the show has not yet been filmed. So they can't credit us as actors because it hasn't happened yet.
Right.
But that's like to clarify. You're absolutely right. When I like reread it again, I was like, they're announcing it as a developmental project. And I think also people are confused because of things like Whitney Cummings and Two Broke Girls.
Yes.
So projects like that where comedians were behind them but not starring in them. But there's so many different ways you can get stuff on the air and different relationships you can have with projects. So
Well, that's really cool. So the special filmed in Salem. At first I wasn't sure if it was Oregon or Massachusetts, but then you made that clear. Tell me about how that came about.
It's been 10 years in the making. We've been doing comedy for a decade, and Corinne is between Corinne and I. We typically have ideas that are ahead of the curve, and one of them was she was like, I think we should self-produce our own stand-up special. We brought this up to our management representative team 5 years ago, and they were like, no, don't spend your own money. And we're like, okay. And then cut to 5 years later, where there's comedians are kind of like, I'm not going to wait for Netflix or Comedy Central to come to me. If you're lucky enough to have money to invest back into your own art, put your money where your mouth is, you should do it. So that's so thank God Corinne is very goal oriented and very driven, because she was like, we need to do a special by the end of the year. Like, I have to, that's like one on my goal list. I want to do a special. So we quickly made it happen. And we self-produced it. We got on the phone with both of our managers. We brainstormed.
Even the one that you vacation with?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. He's like my surrogate dad, because I don't talk to my family. So it's Rick's my dad. But yeah. So we all got on the phone and brainstormed and had many phone calls, met with a production company, and every aspect of the special was, we were involved in, which was really cool. And Corinne directed it.
That's so cool. So can we talk? So the last thing, the sort of reenactment. Can we? I don't think it's spoiling to talk about it, right? Or do you? Okay.
Sexting theater. No, we can talk about it. It's fine.
Yes. So you do this amazing thing where you ask the audience for, does anyone sext? and then someone hands you their phone, and then you do a reenactment of it, or a dramatic reading of it. Really.
Theatrical reading.
Yes.
Yeah.
Make it worse, Rob. Make it worse. You are such an effing idiot.
Did you? Is this a thing you guys do regularly at your live shows?
Yes, we've been doing it for about 5 years since we started touring, and with no pre-producing.
That's my question. Yeah.
Very lucky to go on stage in any given city and say, hey, who up here has who's being a dumb bitch, or who's having a problem that they're like, they can't get out of, or who has a dirty sex message that they want to share with it. And so people will gladly volunteer because they know and trust us. So that's also part of the relationship. Right. So yeah, but the sexting conversation that ended up making the special was just a girl literally, we were waiting around for somebody to, stop being so shy, because we're like, you guys are hoes. Come on, let's have fun. And and this woman just passed her phone up, and it was a fantastic sexting conversation. Yeah.
Yeah, the only thing that's not authentic is how quickly it happens. We had to edit out a lot of waiting time where me and Christina were standing on stage like, come on. And usually it is faster, but I think because people knew it was being filmed for a special, there was a little extra hesitancy than there normally is, because, knock on wood, we've never had a city where someone did not eventually, and some cities have taken longer than others. I mean, not more than like a couple minutes. But in every city, we've gotten someone to bring up a sex message that we read, whether they had their friend bring the phone to the stage so they're completely anonymous or not. Like, it's happened. I mean, sometimes people bring the phone right up on the stage,
and then they
themselves
stand on
and
stage.
want to be part of it. So
they're like, okay, you can read it now. We're like, you don't need to be here. It's okay. But it's
we're
fun
like,
segment.
please leave.
Well, that was my question. Have you ever had a situation where something doesn't materialize? But
I wouldn't say it doesn't materialize, but it doesn't go well. We'll do 7 minutes in therapy is also a segment that we do at the top of the stand-up special. And sometimes it's a comedy show. We are comedians. It's a comedy podcast, even though we talk about some really serious things. And then when you come up and we're like, all right, who has some problems? We're going to do speed round. And they're like, my boyfriend left me yesterday for my best friend. And you're like, oh man, you can't, come on. So yes, it's gone awry many times, but it's always we always figure it out.
It's always someone saying something way too sad, and we're just, and it's fine because it's it's what I call a comedy challenge, and Christina and I always handle it. But then you worry, because yes, I want to be there for that person who was vulnerable with us, but also I can't ruin the whole show to give you a a real therapy session right now. And also it's technically illegal for us to give you therapy. So we're doling out advice.
yes.
But yeah, and so now we kind of give a disclaimer, this is a comedy show. Don't ruin the comedy show with your sad, sad life. So.
We all know shit's sad. That's why we're all here. So let's laugh.
The advice thing, it's a hard needle to thread. I mean, you guys are really good at it. I host another podcast with Greg Fitzsimmons called Childish, where people write in with their parenting questions. We are not experts at all. But I don't listen back that often. I know I should, but I listened back to an episode and I was like, oh my God, I'm trying so hard to make sure that I give that one person the perfect advice and that I canvas all sides of it and stuff, that I'm forfeiting the entertainment value.
It's a balance, man. It's a tricky balance between really coming from the heart and giving somebody a piece of information that you feel good about giving, or piece of advice that you feel good about giving, and then being genuine to who you are while also being entertaining. But I think if you're coming from the heart, it's automatically going to be riveting because it's your human truth.
So, Christina, you said that when you guys started the podcast, you made some promises to yourself. One was that you were always going to be authentic about sexuality and what's going on in your lives and stuff. I was just wondering, what were some of the other promises you made?
For me, I think for one of the ones we talked about, maybe more recently, Christina, is not to talk so openly about relationships in real time.
Yep, and let them.
I don't know if you're
bloom
sticking
naturally.
to that one.
No, 100%. No, I am. I absolutely am. Because especially with on the podcast, when we record the intros to every show, usually is when we get personal. And so I'm dating again for the first time in 2 years, and I'm one of the things that I want to do this time around is keep that private. And then there's so many other things that I'd want to talk about that have to do with sexuality and dating that don't have to do with what I am experiencing in this moment. So that is a promise.
Is that hard? I would think that would be hard to, I mean, I know for me, I had talked about my life as a single person so much that then when I got into a relationship, and all of a sudden it was his business too. I was like, now I'm like losing a chunk of what I normally talk about.
Yeah. Well, I just talk about it to Corinne. I talk about it to Corinne privately off air. So I get my fill.
Yeah, I mean, I think like I have a boyfriend, and I'll mention him on the podcast or like little silly things, but I think I'm keeping it a little bit more surface level. Like he's a lot younger than me, which is I think interesting. So I'll talk about that kind of more theoretically. And the stigma that surrounds that when the woman is the older person, and like funny things will happen. Like I accidentally took him to a strip club for the first time. Like, I mean, I knew we were going to the strip club. I just didn't know until we were in the Uber that it was his first time at a strip club. So things like that have like high entertainment value, but will not affect our private relationship. But I'm not like dissecting my day-to-day feelings or struggles with things the way we've previously done. And I was also single for a large span of the podcast because the impetus was this really serious breakup I had. And I took like 4 years off from having a serious boyfriend. So that there's a big chunk in there that I was just talking about like sex and people that I don't want to say didn't matter, but didn't matter as much to me as a partner.
Have you guys found that guys are hesitant to be involved with you because they don't, actually, twofold question. Either because they don't want their business in public, and then secondly, do you find that men have these preconceived notions of who you are because you host a podcast called Guys We Fucked?
I haven't had that.
Beginning.
I was with somebody when we started the podcast. And so I was with them for the first 4 years of the show. So that was, that was fine. And then, when I dated after that, no, honestly, the guys respected it. And I wouldn't want to date a guy that didn't respect it because I don't like the way they think about that subject matter anyway. So yeah, it does a great job of, weeding people out, I guess. Cause if somebody did have a problem, they didn't tell me. And honestly, frankly, I don't want to hear about it cause I don't want to fuck with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, for me, it was a bit of an issue in the beginning. Two parts, because number one, you didn't know, I was just like, I'm very like wary of people, in general. So there was a couple people that I was like, does this person want to have sex with me because they want to have sex with me or because they want to be on my show? So I kind of made a point where it's not like you would sleep with me one day and like the next day you would get to be on the show. I really gave it some time so people didn't think of my pussy as like a publicist.
I love it's like you're not, because you're not giving it away, but you're not giving away is the part where you talk about it on the show.
Yeah, like absolutely not, especially because I was having sex with a lot of like people in the entertainment business. And then the second part where like people, I've definitely had like PR meetings when I've gotten into relationships about like what I will say if I will tag you on Instagram, that kind of stuff. That's more me protecting them though. People think they understand and they just don't understand being in the spotlight until they are in it. And it's so funny because this is like, this isn't even a huge spotlight. Like I can't imagine the talk like Lady Gaga has to have with her boyfriends before. But it's still a lot. Like when you search, you'll start searching your name on Google and it'll come up with my name. And that's just like part of dating someone who does a relationship podcast. So I just like to be really upfront with people. And I have to like warn guys, like you're going to get a lot of DMs of people trying to fuck you because you are my boyfriend. And like, it's not okay. And please don't let that be a reflection of like how you think of women or how you think women treat each other, but like it will happen and that's not representative of all women. Like that stuff like that bums me out big time, honestly, but it's gonna happen. So yeah.
And is that women who are they would want to fuck him because he's associated with you because they're fans or because they're like trying to steal your dude?
It's like a weird. You know, it's like you're talking about someone and it elevates them. And I think like, I don't know, you know, there's something about that a lot of heterosexual women have in them that when a man is desired by other women, a lot of women think I want him too.
Yeah.
And I don't exactly know what that's about, but it is just so.
Society,
and so
man.
it happens, and it happens a lot. I especially think it happens to me because I'm like the more threatening one, when in reality it's like I want us all to be on the same team, and I want you to have boundaries and stand up for yourself and feel good about yourself the way I do. And certainly not the way to achieve that is not by fucking my boyfriend. And I'm still from New Jersey, so I will go absolutely apeshit on the both of you. You know.
So I have some questions that listeners sent in on Patreon. I'm on Patreon. Patreon.com/Allison Rosen is where you go.
Patreon.
There's, excuse me, bonus episodes of my podcast, The Friend Zone. There's a level where you can text me and I'll text you back. We do Zoom parties. You can submit carbohydrates that I will call you on the Thursday show and questions for the guests. And if you subscribe for a year, you get 2 months free. So it's 12 months for the price of 10. And let's do these questions.
When we ask, they send them in. They're wondering how you have been. So thanks so much for answering these questions from our fans.
All right. Lisa Lowry wants to know, what are the contents of their nightstands?
Anal sex books. And self-help books. I truly have a book called A Woman's Complete Guide to Anal Sex next to a book by Dr. Brian Weiss called Only Love is Real. So that's what I got.
Well, Lisa Lowry, so nice to meet you. I'm Corinne Fisher, and I don't have a bedstand because I am not an organized person. I have a pile of papers from the baseball card store that I own next to my bed. Just some old inventory sheets, and there is absolutely not a table there. It's just sprawled across the floor.
Wait, is your mattress pretty low?
It's not super high, but it's not super like I just throw stuff on the ground. Like there's nothing. I have like a bottle of water, and then like my phone's my alarm, and I put it on my bed. I am not a typical girl with like a really organized home. I don't know. There's only so many hours in the day, and that's not what I don't spend any of them organizing or cleaning.
But like, oh no, I don't either, but I do have a nightstand that's filled with shit that I need to go through and like throw out. It's very cluttery.
Yeah, I have like an old chest. Yeah, I don't have. I honestly looked for a bedside table, but I'm like really picky about my furniture. Mm-hmm. It all has to be vintage, and I just surprisingly, I found all vintage pieces. I found a vintage roll top desk and a bar, and a tall, what is it called? A tall boy? Yeah, I think it is also called a tall boy, like the drink. And I couldn't find a bedside table that I liked, so I just didn't get one.
Yeah. Hey, if it works for you. Whitney C, who makes their favorite dessert, and is it homemade or commercial? Or maybe she's saying homemade or commercial, who makes your favorite dessert?
I'm not a dessert gal, but I would say Wendy's, Friendly's, the Conehead Sundae.
What is that?
Friendly's. It's a scoop of ice cream. Scoop of ice cream with a ice cream cone, and there's like whipped cream for like the hair, and then an ice cream cone upside down on the scoop of ice cream, and then at the bottom, after you've done eating everything, it's you find all these M&Ms at the bottom.
Oh my
of the
god,
dish.
that sounds great. Yes, you seem surprised. I've heard of Friendly's, but I don't think I've ever been to a Friendly's.
Where are you
They have
from
them
originally?
very far out west.
I was born in Northern California, grew up in Southern California.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I did live in.
That's why it's like. East, it's East Coasty. Me and Christina are both from the East Coast, so
Got
that's
it.
why. And I know there's a lot of people who have never been to Friendly's, and man, it's one of my favorite chain restaurants. But if you're ever on the East Coast, check one out.
I did live
Go
in
in with low expectations, but then you'll like it.
Okay, but I lived in New York for 10 years, but it's not in the city, right?
No,
No,
Friendly's.
not in the
Okay.
city.
All right. What about you, Corinne?
I like a lot of desserts. Like in general, I love a chewy brownie with walnuts. But I think like something I'm really obsessed with right now is I love being a Jersey girl. I love diner cake. And so I live near a diner that has this like an incredible chocolate cake, and I'm usually not a chocolate person, but it's like called Chocolate Outrage or something, and it's incredible. I also love a strawberry shortcake from a diner. Just like a diner is always going to have the best slice of strawberry shortcake. And during quarantine, I just was eating whatever I wanted, as so many people were, but I was doing it like in a really specific way. So I would eat cake for breakfast a lot, and those were the two cakes that I would alternate between. And like, fun fact, if you want to eat cake every day, eat it for breakfast, and at least for me, it won't make you gain weight. So
yeah,
I load those carbs in the AM.
Right, like waffles, muffins, pancakes, cake. It's all kind of the same. What is there an animal behind you, and what is it?
Like a living animal? My dog's here, but I don't think you could see him.
I can see his ear.
I can see him.
This is my dog.
And there's Kevin. I heard about Kevin, and so then I had to go on Instagram to find Kevin. Oh my God, he is so cute.
He's the best.
And then we need to see Corinne's pup. Oh my gosh.
This is Sir Alfred Hitchcock. He's very used to me podcasting, so he knows when the ring light is on, mommy's working, and he has to go to sleep. But I woke him up, so.
Hi, Sir Alfred Hitchcock. Yeah, from the ear, I suspected it was a dog, but then I thought maybe this is a cat. But no. Hi. Oh my God.
A little like.
So.
He's a little doggy.
So cute.
They're both
you can
super
go back
cute.
to sleep now, buddy.
Oh my God. I have a dog named Wendy, so I'm on board with human names for animals. Okay. And do you guys, so we do a segment on the show called Just Me or Everyone, where people mention a thing they think or do, and they wonder, is it just me or everyone? Do you guys happen to have a Just Me or Everyone?
Oh,
we were told a different thing, so let me think of this really quick.
Oh.
And I can think of one, though.
Well,
I have obsessive compulsive disorder, so I'm sure I have a lot.
Sometimes I ponder on something I have thought or done. Is it just me or everyone?
All right. Yes. Christina, you have one?
Yeah. Elaborate masturbation. Like using sex toys on yourself and like taking your time intentionally and setting the mood and really just treating yourself like there's another person there, but there's not.
I don't think you're the only one.
I don't know, man. I haven't heard many other people do that. So do you do that?
It's probably not. I don't think I set the scene as much as you do. But maybe a little bit.
Okay.
What about you, Corinne? Do you elaborately treat yourself?
I mean, people definitely do this, but I think it's again, like, I think I take it to the next level where I'll do like a private investigator level investigation of somebody before I date them. Like, I will have seen every Instagram you've posted. I will have figured out everyone you've dated in the past 5 to 10 years, what they're doing, if they're married, how it ended, things you used to do together. Like, I will know I'll know what you wore for Halloween in 2017. Like, no problem. I just have to make sure I'm not bringing it up on dates because I've done that before. Whoops.
Yeah. I feel like that's pretty common, but maybe not to the level you go. Same with, you don't think so, Christina?
I keep myself in the damn dark. I want to get to know you for you because of whatever conclusion I'm going to draw from what I find isn't going to be what's actually happening. So I know myself enough to know that my the dots that I connect aren't there. That's the ones in my head. So it's like, I'll just get to know you old fashioned way. That's better for me because then I don't jump to conclusions.
Here's a Just Me or Everyone. Do you guys do this? I'll be sitting there and all of a sudden someone from my past, whether probably not someone I dated because I've already like Googled all of them, but just someone that I had a crush on or someone that I liked will pop into my head and I'm like, oh my God, that's someone I could look up to see what they're doing. And I get excited for my internet search later. Huh.
Yeah, I've done that. I mean, last time I did it, it was my best friend from childhood, and I found out she was dead. So,
whoops,
mine is too.
Maybe don't do that anymore.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, no, I do that. I also think of like almost every ex-boyfriend I ever had every single day, and I don't think that's normal to think of every single one every day. That's weird.
Huh?
Yeah. Why? Like real quick? Like?
Yeah. They just
Like a
come
Rolodex?
Just I don't know, just like a little rotation, like they're just doing a little presentation. Hello. I don't think of them in depth. Just like, oh, yeah. Like, because sometimes someone will be like, I'll think of an ex and be like, oh man, I haven't thought of him in years. I'm like, yeah, that's never happened to me. I think of everyone every week.
Tony, do you think of your exes that frequently?
Not that frequently. It definitely happens, but I wouldn't say it's a daily thing. No.
Yeah, once I'm done with you, you're done. I don't think of you at all, almost to a fault.
I'm going to put you on the spot, Tony. You can take this out if you don't want the answer out there. You're divorced. How frequently does your ex-wife pop into your head?
You know, your timing on this question is very strange because I was literally talking about this at therapy, that it's weirdly been happening more lately, and I don't know why. It's not like a something that I miss or anything. It's not like looking back fondly, or it's just like these random things. I'm like, why is that popping into my head right now? And yeah, it started happening a lot more lately, and I don't know why.
I wonder if it is related to you returning from the tour that didn't happen, or some sort of contextual kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't know, but nothing. I don't mean this against her, but like, yeah, I don't need that to be happening.
Yeah, but like, I'll have weird things where all of a sudden I'll think that I see someone it usually happens when I travel. I'll think I see someone, and then I'll repeatedly think I see them. And I'm like, why is this person that I haven't thought of in 20 years suddenly on my mind? And I think it's like, it's a memory being triggered by something. Now, obviously with your ex-wife, I don't think it's like that, disconnected from what's going on, but I still think like something in your environment or in your psyche or whatever could be like making you think of her more often right now.
Yeah, it's very possible. Yeah, I really don't know. My therapist wasn't sure either.
Fire this person. So, Christina, you have a hey, go fuck yourself?
Oh, I sure do, Allison. I dated a man for 7 years, and we had a pretty good relationship, and then I broke up with him. And a couple months after our breakup, when I was in the midst of still processing it and being heartbroken, he wrote a letter to sue me and Corinne. So, hey, ex-boyfriend, who your name doesn't even deserve to be said, go fuck yourself.
Hey, go fuck yourself.
What was he trying to sue you guys for?
Money.
Well, yeah, but I mean, but like on what grounds?
Grounds that made no sense, and he didn't win because there was no argument there.
Okay, well,
it was a bitter bitch moment.
Right. Fuck that guy.
Like hours worked, but we had already compensated him and had documentation.
Yeah. I feel like I can guess what this might have been. Corinne, what about you? Anyone that you have to give the business to?
Mine's more general. When you brought the go fuck yourself up, I was just thinking about people in general who, when you say something about fast food, like I like Taco Bell or something, they'll be like, I don't eat fast food. No one cares that you don't eat fast food. And I'm sorry that adulthood has made you boring and you can only eat fucking caviar, but I love fast food, and don't bring your negative energy to me. People who say, I don't eat fast food, go fuck yourself.
Hey, go fuck yourself.
Do you guys happen to watch Real Housewives of Salt Lake City? Or any Real Housewives?
No, there's a Salt Lake City one? No.
Yes.
No, that sounds
That's
incredible.
amazing.
Yeah. It's very, very crazy. I recommend it. Although my interest like waxes and wanes with it, but there's some very crazy stuff that has happened. But one of the main characters, Lisa Barlow, like famously loves fast, and she looks like someone who would be like, oh, I don't eat fast food, but she'll like get Diet Coke from one place and fries from another place and something from
hell yeah.
She's super
She's nerdy
into
about it.
Yes, she is. It was so nice having you guys on the show. Thank you so much for joining us. If you like what you're hearing, please make sure that you leave us a nice review. It helps out the show on Apple Podcasts, or rate us wherever you're listening. Make sure you're subscribed or following, or whatever the language is in your app of choice. Follow me on social media at Allison Rosen on Twitter, Instagram. Christina and Corinne, please tell everyone, plug all your things. Tell them where they can find you and what they should look out for, etc.
Our special day. That is what we want to plug. It's our debut stand-up comedy special. It is available to watch for free. It is produced by us. It looks fucking fantastic, and it's really good. You can get that at youtube.com/guyswefucked without the U in fucked.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
And then do you want to plug, I know you guys each do other podcasts as well.
I'll plug my social media.
We just wanted to do the call to action to this. But
Okay.
But yeah.
Okay, cool.
That's it. Don't do anything else. Just watch that special.
It's so important to us that you watch the special that it's the paramount priority for us.
Okay.
So we're good just plugging that.
Empty your head of everything. Make your head as empty as a butthole and just the special.
Yes.
Perfect.
Tony, what about you?
Twitter and Instagram @
Tony Thaxton.
and my show Bizarre Albums every Tuesday, and the Motion City Soundtrack Tour in June and July now. That's it for now.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. It was so wonderful having you on the show. Listeners, thank you for listening. I love you. You matter. Goodbye.
Hey, do you know about the Allison Rosen show? We had a good time, but now we gotta go. Yeah, Allison Rosen is your new best friend.